The first thing I did there is bringing it up. Kind of just like you're just squeezing your hands together at the bottom and pulling it up. This is the first step to centering. So you bring it up into like, something like this, or just kind of as tall and centered as you get it. You can get it. And then you bring it down. And when you bring it down, you're trying to keep it centered. I use my left hand and kind of use this meaty part, and I only let the clay get wider a certain amount. And I use my right hand, I use this palm part, and I push down on it. So basically you push down and you let it out, or like you let it get wider to only a certain point with your left hand so that it stays centered. So that's about centered. Centering is really important. If you open it up and it's not centered, you're going to have really uneven walls, and this will get more and more noticeable as you make it thinner. So it's really important to get it centered before you start anything. Like when it's centered, it kind of looks like it's not moving. So before you open it, bring it so it's about, I usually bring it so it's like about as wide as it is tall. You don't want to open it when it's super tall, and you don't want to flatten it all the way down and then try to bring it up, because that's hard. But I remember when I started, I found it helpful to use something like this, and you basically just hold it really still, and just keep it right in the middle, and that holds perfectly centered. So at least to get it started, I remember I would use one of these. You don't have to, you can just use your fingers. One thing that I kind of skipped over is like your posture of how to keep your hands stable. This is really important. So basically I kind of grab the wheel here with my knees, and I put my elbow like against my body here, because right now the only way that my arms can move is from here. If my elbows, this is how I see people always start throwing. They throw like this, and your arms really aren't stable. Like, the clay will move your arms when you want your arms to move the clay. See right here, my arm can move all the way up to the shoulder, so it's really like it's not stable. So stick this here, or with these wheels, a lot of times I have my forearm against this, because this isn't moving. So try to think about your posture. Okay, so now I'm finally gonna open it up. You bring this hole down to the bottom, or not all the way to the bottom, excuse me. With your thumb, keeping it nice and steady. So you want to bring it down so there's about that much clay on the bottom, about a ½ inch. And now I want to widen the hole at the bottom so it's as wide as you want the bottom of your pot to be. So, I don't know, let's say I want the bottom of my thing to be like that wide. So basically, I just hold my finger as deep as it is now, and I just pull it towards me. You guys can kind of see the whole thing gets wider. Now you start doing what's called pulling, which is essentially you're thinning the walls and making it taller. So at this point you're just making a cylinder right now. Even if you want to make a base that's like, say, getting wider and coming into a rim, you still start by just making a straight up cylinder with whatever width you chose on the bottom. So I'd say this is kind of the hardest part. You really want to be steady and consistent, and it's just pushing in and pulling up. You see that wobble? That's because it's a little bit too dry on one part of the pot. So I should probably deal with that. So yeah, so that's pretty much what a pull is. Your thumb comes over the top of the pot, and you see how it's, I hold it against my right hand. This keeps them really stable, and they stay in the same position relative to each other. What else is there? So that's about all there is for doing a pull. I mean, that just takes practice. You just want it to be as steady as possible, and you know, it keeps getting harder and a little bit less stable as your pot and the walls of your pot get thinner. You know, it's harder for itself to stay centered and hold itself up.